You guys, there's just an incredible story happening in Sweden right now. Basically, the Swedish Union has become incredibly powerful and they are attempting to extort Tesla into collective agreements. Collective agreements cover conditions including salary, pension, working hours, and holidays, and mean that in theory, unions and employers regulate the labor market rather than the state. So they're seen as the cornerstone of Sweden's labor market model. Although union membership in Sweden has fallen in recent decades, many workers are still in unions, and about 9 in 10 employees, 90% of them in Sweden, have collective arrangements. The Tesla strike has attracted secondary action from 8 other unions and is threatening to spread to Norway, where the United Federation of Trade Unions, the country's largest private sector union, said it was prepared to take sympathy action. So all the Nordic unions are jumping aboard this big push against Tesla to unionize, and the chair of the Swedish Union, Mary Nilsson, said the strike was not only a fight for Tesla workers, but to protect the Swedish Union model. If we allow companies like Tesla to operate without collective agreement, she said, it will open up for other international companies and other types of industries. It can take a long time and we will keep going for as long as is needed. The strike is now gaining support from transport and harbor workers who have refused to load or unload Tesla cars in all Swedish ports, electricians who have refused to carry out service or repair at Tesla's workshops, and charging stations and painters who will not work on Tesla cars. Other sympathy strikes include those by service and communication workers who have stopped distributing post and shipments to Tesla. Elon Musk reacted to all of this on Twitter saying, "This is insane." In Norway, where that huge union exists, they said about 500 Tesla employees are organized. The union's leader said it would block Swedish Teslas from coming to the country. Norway should not be a transit country for Tesla to get away with strike breaking, he said. We must hold Tesla accountable and make them commit to collective agreements in the European countries in which they operate. My guess is that Tesla will not remain in Sweden without collective arrangement. The union will win. I have difficulty seeing the unions folding. The question is too important. Well, if this guy thinks that Tesla is going to fold, he doesn't know Tesla. Look at these workers standing in solidarity in Sweden. They have their backs turned to the union mobbers because they're actually scared of the unions in Sweden. These unions are very powerful. They want all employees to partake in these collective agreements so that they can control the labor market. And this picture was brought to us by our friend in Sweden, Nicholas, and he reports that several people have been threatened. Messiah Hallberg gave the idea to the Tesla workers to design the same vests as the union, but instead of having conflict in writing as the union have on theirs, put on the vest that says, "Thank you, we are fine." So Tesla workers are just trolling the union in Sweden, and over 90% of all workers at Tesla have chosen to go to work every day and are happy about it, despite going through picket guards every morning. And those union picket guards are standing at Tesla service centers where zero Tesla people are striking. It is just insane. And so the union mission in Sweden is not going to work against Tesla, and all the union is doing in all this is hurting their own citizens and hurting their own jobs. And now things are getting really crazy as the union is starting to extort Tesla. They are forcing companies that make supplies for Tesla to stop supplying Tesla, otherwise they face huge fines. One of these companies is Extrusion. During Friday, there will be another escalation of the Tesla strike. Extrusion, which manufactures aluminum parts for Tesla's Berlin factory, is going on strike. The plan is that Giga Berlin will not be able to manufacture cars when important parts are missing. Without this part, you cannot deliver the car, so it is very noticeable. Extrusion in Vetlanda has its own collective agreement, and around 50 employees are now affected by the strike. Even though the company is not a party to the conflict, CEO of Extrusion believes that Tesla can quickly replace the parts with other suppliers. So the union's hopes that it will close Tesla's factory in Berlin will not be fulfilled in that case. So the CEO is basically saying, I don't know why the union is doing this to us, because now we're just going to lose Tesla as a partner, and they forced this upon us. We didn't even want this. The strike may instead have as the only consequence that Swedish jobs are now threatened and moving elsewhere. The CEO says again, it is nothing unusual, so I am convinced that all the customers we work with have a plan for how to handle a situation when it stops. And I'm sure Tesla does too. When Tesla quickly replaces the Swedish parts with parts from other suppliers, it is not certain that they will return, and then there will be layoffs at Extrusion. So you see what the union is doing to this company. A good reply to this story here saying, Tesla most likely have the same parts sourced locally in China from the Shanghai factory. They will just send parts from there. The only thing that will happen is that Hydro just lost an important customer. The union is hurting Swedish companies. And another likelihood is that Tesla will sue the parts supplier for breach of contract while they source the parts from China temporarily until another European supplier can be acquired, likely also removing all suppliers from Sweden as a result. But I'm not sure if Tesla's going to sue, because doesn't it seem immoral to sue Hydro for doing something that they're being forced to do by the Swedish Union, that they have to pay big fines if they don't do it? But then again, if Tesla loses money as a result of this, they have the right to sue. And that's why it's such a shame that the union has got so much power through these collective agreements to manipulate and extort on this scale. Nicholas writes, Hydro is forced to do this. The company faces big fines if they don't, so they dare not to do as the union tells them. But I don't know if the Swedish union has ever faced a behemoth like Tesla. This is an opponent that has muscles and really high morals and ethics. This means for the first time in history that the unions have to give up, and that the unions will face big problems in the future because of this. This war against Tesla will be the beginning of their end. So what is really going on at the union? What do they want? Strikes like at Tesla are not about actual conditions for the employees, but about the power over the pensions fund's 2 billion kroner. And Sven, which would be on the side of the entrepreneurs in the battle, is raising arms because the big fund managers are co-owned with the same unions that call for strikes. The union's view of strikes has slowly changed. Traditionally, the aim of a strike was to pressure companies with poor wages and conditions to improve wages and conditions, which is something most people can get behind. Today, instead, we see militant strikes and blockades against companies like Tesla, where the employees already both have high wages and good working conditions. Instead of focusing on those actual conditions, the union's focus is now solely on these companies having signed collective agreements. The salaries and benefits offered don't really matter. This is an ideological power struggle where the union seems to have no objection to worsening the conditions of the employees as long as the companies capitulate and sign these collective agreements. In Klarna's case, which is another big company undergoing similar stress that Tesla is facing, the union's demands could lead to the staff losing hundreds of millions, which would have been incomprehensible based on the union's movement's original goals. Even employees who offer better conditions are today forced into collective agreements through strikes and blockades that few can withstand in the long run. Mandatory collective agreements risk damaging high-tech industries and impairing Sweden's competitiveness. Many companies that today avoid collective agreements are still willing to offer high wages but refuse agreements because the outdated rules do not suit their modern growth industries. Elon has spoken on this a lot. He feels that unionizing will limit Tesla's growth opportunities, and we've absolutely seen that with the big three. Their unionization has drastically slowed down their ability to transition to EVs. Collective agreements came about at a time when greedy male patrons forced state workers and backshack dwellers to work for starvation wages. They served their purpose, but the challenges of our time are different from those of that time. Say what you will about Tesla, but they cannot be accused of paying poorly. In modern and knowledge-intensive industries, employees are often compensated with a mix of salary options and bonuses linked to performance, and to employees staying with the company for a certain period of time. Contracts with this type of performance-based compensation have been used in most of the world's most successful companies, such as Google. Forcing a straitjacket on these companies risks leading domestic top companies to move operations abroad. Fear of union attacks will also lead to foreign companies seeing Sweden as a less attractive investment country. And this is in a situation where the image of Sweden has already been damaged by crime. So why is this union acting like this when there are no clear winners? And why do you meet so little resistance from Swedish business, which you think should support Tesla, as so often it's about money? Today, over 2,000 billion in pension and insurance funds are managed jointly by the unions and Swedish business. Cervenka recently called this the mafia scheme that threatens your pension. So through collective agreements, companies and their employees are forced into a system where most of this money ends up controlled by the trade union and Swedish enterprise. Electa alone manages a staggering 1,200 billion, with an additional 750 billion in AMF pension. So they're managing all of this money, but Electa has recently been in bad weather due to disaster investments in American banks and crisis-stricken Swedish real estate companies. On paper, it is difficult to understand why Elekta manages so much money despite these scandals, because in a free market, bad managers should naturally be weeded out and outcompeted, but this is not a free market. The reason is that the collective agreements make Elekta the automatic alternative for as many as 2.8 million Swedes. A similar arrangement exists between these other pensions. So today, 72% of the employees' money concerned goes to Elekta and 80% goes to AMF through what Cervenka called a form of silent coercion. Few Swedish employees have the courage to familiarize themselves with the complex system of occupational pension administration. And while in certain periods Elekta has of course had good returns, in recent years it has fared significantly worse, and as a result they are driving on companies like Tesla to get more money into their pension because they've been performing so horribly. And they're trying to force these companies into collective agreements regardless of whether it benefits the employees or not. This type of concentration of power breeds corruption. The winners are not the employees, but a relatively small number of bureaucrats and industry leaders who work for or sit on the board of LO, trade union organizations, Swedish enterprise Elekta, or AMF pension. The silent coercion of 2,000 billion in funds provides the opportunity to give each other generous terms, board assignments, and strange agreements that increasingly lead to scandals in the business press. It also increases the risk of directly unsuitable investments, something not least Elekta has proven. For a long time, this quasi-monopoly was too complex to really engage the public, but perhaps the union's clear overstepping in the completely unnecessary battle against Tesla can bring the subject up to the agenda. We want to shed some light on the matter. I mean, trust me, if you get the Tesla community involved, we're going to find out what's going on. If you impede Tesla's mission, everything you're doing is going to come to light. The Tesla community is a workhorse. This is really good reporting from Nicholas. He provided a lot of information that I could not find in the news in helping us understand the potential corruption in Sweden and why they are extorting Tesla, plotting to shut down Giga Berlin by calling on their workers under a collective agreement to strike. It really is insane, as Musk calls it. And the fact that 8 other unions in the Nordic countries are about to join in on the strike confounds me, as consumers in Scandinavia love Tesla. I mean, these countries have gone almost completely green. In 2022, the EV market share in Norway was 80%. But the fact that the Tesla workers are standing with their company and against this powerful union is extremely inspiring, and it speaks to the greatness of Tesla. They have such a strong mission, such a strong culture, and the motion for growth is so large that even the employees are on board and don't want to do something that they know can slow the company down. They see where Tesla is headed and they want to be a part of it. So let me know if you guys were interested in this story, and I can keep you up to date as more information comes to light. I'm actually just about to head out the door. I'm going to go check out the Cybertruck. It's about a 45-minute drive. It just went on display at my local showroom. That is going to be the video for tomorrow, so make sure you guys are subscribed for that, and I'll catch you guys soon.